Hey, good morning, everybody. We're continuing our reading today in the last part of the New Testament, and specifically it's John's letters. We've already finished the first letter, which was the longest of the three, and now we're in 2 John, which is just a 1 chapter, 13 verse letter. And John has identified himself already as the author. In fact, he calls himself the elder. Now, this is not just about him being old, although he was an older guy. Elder was the New Testament word for one of the many New Testament words used for pastor or teacher. And then he identifies his recipients. In verse 1, he says, "This is I'm writing to the chosen lady and to her children, whom I love in the truth." Now, the chosen lady perhaps was a lady and her children, but more likely the scholars feel like it was probably a church. The church is often described as Jesus' bride, and so this was a metaphorical use of the word lady. But let's go on and find out what he says about this lady and her children. He says, "I'm writing to the chosen lady and to her children, whom I love in the truth, as does everyone else who knows the truth, because the truth lives in us and will be with us forever." I think he's using that word truth for in a repetitive nature for a very specific reason, because he's feeling like this particular church is very vulnerable to some false teachers that are there. These teachers seem to be going from church to church and trying to gain influence over believers in the communities where John had influence. They were teaching false claims about Jesus. We remember, in John's first letter, he starts it out by saying, "Hey, wait a minute. I lived with Jesus. I knew Jesus. I heard Jesus. I touched Jesus. I knew him very, very, very well. He was fully human, and yet he was also the Son of God." And John is very clear about this. So he's very adamant about making sure that they don't fall for the deception that was being spread. Now, verse 4 starts out with these words. He says, "How happy I was to meet some of your children and to find them living according to the truth, just as the Father commanded. I am writing to remind you, dear friends, that we should love one another. This is not a new command, but one that we have had from the beginning. Love means doing what God has commanded us, and he has commanded us to love one another, just as you heard from the very beginning." If we read back into 1 John and even into the Gospel of John, we remember that this might be one of his most emphasized themes in all of his writing. After all, it was what Jesus taught. Loving God means doing what God commands. And living according to the truth is loving one another. John is very clear that the truth and love go hand in hand. I think every generation has common deceptions about Jesus, places where we are easily deceived. And John is reminding us that Jesus is really God and human. And his gift of love is one where he sacrificed himself on the cross for us. And he calls us to love each other like he first loved us. Perhaps the greatest deception for Christians today is to listen to those who tell us that following Jesus is all about being comfortable, about my own personal comfort. That is, when it's convenient for me. And rather, John wants us to know that he wants us to know the real Jesus. He is warning us not to be deceived, that the real Jesus is a sacrificial lover. And he calls us then to do the same for each other. Truth and love go hand in hand. The truth is, God loves us so much that he sent his son to be crucified on our behalf and then resurrected to prove the power of his love. And now he says, go out and love each other in the truth of Jesus. Go and have an amazing day.
If these devotional videos are helpful to you, subscribe to our channel and click the notification button so you know when we post a new video. And of course, please share them with others.